Hello and welcome back to another episode of Game Brigade. I'm your host, and on this channel we do reviews, previews, and playthroughs and have discussions of our favorite board games. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Today on the show, I wanted to take a look at my top 10 most anticipated games that I've backed on Kickstarter this year. I thought this would be fun to kind of go back and look at Kickstarter and kind of organize the games that I felt were most anticipated for me. Maybe you guys have some opinions about these games and can share your thoughts on them. I'd love to kind of get your opinion. I also thought it was a little interesting that the way my opinions have shifted over the last year in terms of games I'm interested in have really, changed quite a bit. And so let's go ahead and talk about number 10, Guards of Atlantis II, the tabletop MOBA. So this one came out, and there was two games that are MOBA-like games that I've backed that'll be on this list. Guards of Atlantis being one of them. And this one, the biggest concern that I have with it is that it requires 4 players. I have recently changed my backing requirements to be more akin to I really want to be closer to good at 2 or maybe even solo games. It's hard because back when I backed this game, I had a very solid play group of 4 to 6 players. So I thought that this would have been a perfect inclusion to our player group. Although I'm still excited for this one, extremely excited for it. I love the idea of a MOBA game, and that this one was entirely zero luck based, team versus team, 100% cutthroat. The idea of it was great. I'm glad that it was a second edition where they basically took a game that was already very, very good and said, let's fix on the mistakes that we have and make it a better, more enjoyable game overall. So I went on this one, and this one is my number 10 most anticipated game. The second one is actually Cloudspire by Chip Theory Games. Cloudspire, or Chip Theory rather, just launched their latest Kickstarter with Burn Cycle, and I had mentioned that I wished that Cloudspire had already shipped by the time that they came out, so that I can give a better idea of Cloudspire gameplay and the way they kind of played it. Even though Cloudspire has already been out, this technically was for the expansion, but I decided to go ahead and get both Cloudspire and its expansion because I felt like there was enough here. So this is again another MOBA-like game, but this one has pretty interesting mechanics where you're going to build this board out with these neoprene mats, and I like the way that the terrain is shifted. You're not going to be having a static map that you're going to be playing all the time, although MOBAs are known for having static maps. I like the way this one integrated all these mechanics and played. So you're going to have both people here as you're trying to move across the territory with towers and minions. It seemed like a really interesting idea. Do I think I'm going to keep both Guards of Atlantis or Cloudspire? Really depends on how my player group responds to MOBAs. These are the first 2 I took a shot on. Figured it'd be good to my collection since I have 0 right now in the collection. Having 2 might be a little bit too much, especially before having played 1. But they were both 2 games I was very, very excited about. Okay. Number 7, actually 8. Yeah, number 8. We're going to do Who Goes There 2nd edition. Who Goes There is brought to you by Certifiable Studios, and they have the license to the original book, I believe, for The Thing. Obviously, the movie The Thing, which was based on a book of Who Goes There. And they were going to be, that license was going to be expiring, so they decided to relaunch and revamp their Who Goes There game, which is a 3 to 4 player based game where you are going to be on the outpost. There is going to be a hidden betrayer mechanic of an alien potentially, and the idea is you got to get enough fuel to get the helicopter fueled and take off, while the Thing is trying to also be one of the final humans escaping on the helicopter. So at the end, when everyone's deciding who's going to be going, who's going to be staying, you're going to have that fun mechanic of people trying to convince each other that you're actually human, while the thing is trying to convince you that they're also human, and the thing can also infect other players, so they can potentially be multiple things. I thought it was a really interesting idea, really interesting gameplay. Again, another situation where they took the original game and enhanced on it and fixed it. They had a lot of not issues, but like problems that people brought up in the original game, and they said, okay, we want to address those and bring the game as close to like a perfect rendition of what they were hoping for. The biggest issue is, of course, I think the dice at the end of the game. I've never played Who Goes There, and the mechanics and the gameplay looked pretty interesting, so I was excited for it. And I personally like hidden betrayal mechanics. Some people don't like hidden betrayal. I really like hidden betrayal, so this was one that I am excited for. The next one is Ankh, Gods of Egypt. And this one is, of course, by CMON Games, Come On Games, and I still don't even know I can't remember the correct pronunciation. Is it CMON now? I think it's CMON. Anyways, Ankh, dudes on a map, based in Egypt, where players are going to be taking on mythological gods as they are trying to gain control of Egypt and, the regions here, using special powers that they have, utilizing Ankh powers. And the interesting mechanic that this one introduced, and I'm not sure quite how my player group will like it. I actually took a poll of everyone asking what they think about player elimination, and this doesn't technically have player elimination, but what it does is the two bottom players about precipice of the end game are going to be joined into a single super god to attempt to win the game, and then the people who are in front or who are leading are then going to try to solidify their lead or stop the super duo from gaining final victory in the end. I think it's interesting. I haven't played the game prior to this, Rising Sun, so I was interested to get into the trilogy and say, okay, I really want to try Ankh. I do really enjoy this Egyptian theme and the mechanics, and I thought it was interesting that when this came out, it's almost like movies, like you got one Egyptian theme and then there's like multiple Egyptian themed games coming out. So this was one of the multiple Egyptian themed games that came out earlier this year. Okay, so we are coming up to the midway point here. And so we have Uprising, Curse of the Last Empire. This was one that took me a while to actually really understand, and I actually had to play the game on Tabletop Simulator to truly get an appreciation of what the game was accomplishing. So I'm a big 4X player. I love 4X. I love exploration. I love PvP with my friends, and the interaction that brings out. So having a fully co-op 4X experience was different for me. So I was a little unsure of how that would work out, having a co-op 4X, and if it would work. But I still get the idea of exploring new tiles and revealing unknown regions. And then the AI in this is good enough to almost simulate a human player. But unfortunately you don't get the interaction of like, aha, I just really got you there. But the way that the game is made and how the AI leaders are designed that you reveal, every single one is like, I really didn't want that one at that time. Like, this is the worst possible one we could draw. And it felt like all of them are like that. The game was so well designed and play tested that they really had a good overall scope going on here. So I was fully invested in this one. As soon as I played, I said, okay, I know that this one's going to be great. I think it was pretty good at 2-player. Again, probably better at 3 to 4, but good at 2 made it good for me. So that's what I was looking for. So Uprising, and again, all these games almost should have some sort of a late pledge option. So if you're interested, check out the Kickstarter page and see if you can get on these games, because I think it would be a good opportunity for you to jump in. Okay, so we're rounding out now here for the final sections. So this one, Hell the Last Saga. I'm a sucker for big, that's an awful picture to kind of sit at. I'm a sucker for like big, epic games, and how the Last Saga kind of promised this epic campaign story. I've been kind of hesitant following Mythic Games because of their debacle with Joan of Arc, but I felt like this one had a really cool setting. I mean, I love the Viking lore and the characters and the art design, so everything about this was hooking me. It's just how much work do they need to do to make this a playable game. I think they're still very much in the development stage of this game. They got the proof of concept sold to us as backers, but I still think they're really hammering out the gameplay aspects to make this a good game. But I do think Mythic Games knows that there is a target on their back and that they have to really come forward with a quality game before they lose their fan base more, especially because they've had a few games that have not been shipped yet that are like Solomon King is very much in limbo at the moment. Hopefully they'll be shipping soon. Joan of Arc had some debacles with poor rule implementation. Then they had an IP dispute, which has now been resolved. So I do know that Mythic Games is like, okay, we really want to become a top tier contender in the board game space, in the realms of like Simon Games or Awaken Realms. They really want to be up there with those guys. So they have to just really nail this one. So I think they're still working on the development. But overall, this one having the Viking theme, kind of a dark, grim story, was very interesting to me. Love the art direction. I love the box design. You also got a lot of content. I mean, this is a lot of plastic minis. Take that good or bad. I mean, that's the problem with the shelf space. So you got to figure out a place to put all this stuff. So, okay, rounding out the top 4, we have another Egypt dudes on a map game, and this one might be surprising for some people that I have this so high, but I really do like combat games, and I haven't played a really I want to be in this section. I haven't played a really good one in a while that plays at a relatively decent pace. I feel like all the good ones I play are like 5 to 10 hour games, and sometimes we don't have time for an experience like that. So this one is clocked around 90 minutes, but I'd probably guess it more close to like 110 minutes. But I do like the design of this one. I like the components. I like the redesigned elements of the art. And Kemet was already a very popular game. And so I was already going to be buying the first edition of this. So when they announced the second edition with some additional upgrades, I felt like it was a perfect opportunity for me to, move in now, get the game, plus some of the expansions, and be pretty happy with it. So this is one that I'm very much looking forward to. Another Egypt-based game. Again, I like the Egypt theme. I think it's really cool. I think the mythology is great as well. Okay, so this next one might be a little contentious as well. Monumental. Monumental was one that I was super excited for, mostly because I'm looking for a civilization type game. I like playing old civilizations. I just like the early 2,000 years ago realm of human history, and I like deck building games. In fact, some of my favorite games are deck building games. So I felt like Monumental hit a lot of those check marks. The biggest concern that I have for Monumental is that I don't necessarily know how necessary the actual 4X component of the gameplay is. Now, they have said that they are working on making sure that the actual 4X components in the combat is decent and worth it for people to invest in. So we'll see how that goes. I do know a lot of players have been mixed feelings on Monumental, but me, I'm really excited for it. I can't wait for this one to ship, and I went all in on Monumental. I was very, very much excited for this one. Okay, the next one is actually the video or the the game that triggered me to start this channel. So it used to be called Starlight. They have renamed to Stars of Akarios, so I believe. I think Starlight was an IP name that was already taken, that wasn't aware by Brendan, so he renamed the game. But this one uses mechanics very similar to two games that I already enjoy. One is Star Wars X-Wing, the tabletop war game, as well as, in my opinion, Seventh Citadel. So this game is going to be a game where you're going to be revealing, same thing. Cards to reveal the space that you're going to be traveling in. Let me see if I can find an example. If I can. Okay, that's the space combat. Well, okay. Dang it. So you have these cards that you're going to be revealing, just like in... Okay, I'm not going to find it. We'll just go up here to the combat section then, while I lose half my viewers because I'm screwing around here. Okay, we'll just stay here. Okay, so you're revealing cards as you're traveling through space, just like Seventh Citadel, where you're revealing the cards and you got a little bit of flavor text, and you move your ship model around, and then eventually you'll get to a section where you have a planet you need to explore, or it'll trigger a space combat. And then when it triggers a space combat, you go to this little 3x3 looking battle set where you're going to have the monsters ships or the alien ships versus your ships, and you're going to be having kind of a real-time combat system playing out with your ships that you've already fully upgraded, which has crew and weapons. I thought it was really intriguing, and I really like the idea of having the exploration game on the side, as well as having this like little table battle going on, very akin to a game that I very much loved, which is Star Wars X-Wing. So this was one that I was super oh, you can see Starlight right there, super stoked with. I like the art, I like the idea of the campaign, of where they were taking it. So this is one that is my number 2 most anticipated game, and I would say that it was a very hard fight between this one and number 1. But number 1 is Nemesis Lockdown. And I might say if this was just Nemesis, it would still probably be my most anticipated game, even though Nemesis is finally at retail. Nemesis is a game that I have been wanting for a very, very long time. I have been trying to find it, and then I decided to just pick it up in the Nemesis Lockdown. I don't necessarily, and I told this to people who commented on my old videos, I don't necessarily think you need both Nemesis Lockdown and Nemesis. You could probably go with one or the other and be just fine. But for super fans of the franchise or of the style of gameplay that this is, both might be good. But again, I really don't think you needed both. You could probably just be fine going with Nemesis or Lockdown and going with that. But for me, this was definitely a campaign that I really looked forward to. I enjoyed the community aspect where they were developing and designing the alien races with the players. Awakened Realms has made some really striking minis lately, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me to pick some of the contents up that were already hard to find through Kickstarter. And they offered 2-wave shipping on this one, so that you were looking to get Nemesis as well as some of the stretch goals. You can get that early, so I'm hoping for that in February. Really hoping for that, and then that'll give me some good time to play Nemesis. And then when Lockdown ships later in the year 2021, we could then enjoy a whole new game. So this is one that I was super excited for. Again, was also very early into the channel. And I mentioned there that this was one of my most anticipated Kickstarters. In fact, looking at the actual calendar year of Kickstarters of games that I wanted, Nemesis Lockdown was it. And then my surprise game of the year was Starlight, Stars of Akarios. So if that's how you want to classify the two, this one was like, this was the one that I was like, oh, this is a little gem that I think not a lot of people know about. And then this one was the one that I was like, this is the AAA title that I definitely really wanted. And I was waiting for. So that rounds it up. I'm going to have to click this button. I got a new setup here in my office. So my stuff's different now. So if I'm looking over here instead of over here, that's why. So that was my top 10 most anticipated games for Kickstarter in 2020. What do you guys think about that? Would you consider any of these contentious or different or bad decisions? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you really want to help support the channel, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and comment down below. I love to hear what you guys are talking about. Again, thank you for all watching and subscribing. I will talk to you all very soon.